Joey Barton is an absolute dickhead. Now, it goes without saying that as human beings, we all make mistakes. But I tell you what, this bloke's entire life has just been one big blunder. Here's a list of some of his misdemeanors over the years, in no particular order. Stubbing out a lit cigarette on a Man City Academy player's eye, faking a French accent to the press upon signing for Marseille in an attempt to appear well-learned, spending 74 days in prison for assaulting a taxi driver, hurling homophobic abuse towards then Liverpool striker Fernando Torres, punching teammate Osman Dabo, and in turn leaving him unconscious with a detached retina, calling Thiago Silva ladyboy on Twitter, receiving a 12-game ban for kicking 3 Man City players minutes before that iconic Aguero goal, sucker punching Morten Gammes Pedersen in the chest, claiming he's too good for the Scottish League upon signing for Rangers, only to get his pants pulled down by Scott Brown in a 5-1 Old Firm defeat and fucking off back to England shortly after, taking the piss out of the size of Zlatan Ibrahimovic's nose despite being unfit to lace his boots, and most recently, attempting to garner sympathy for his brother Michael, who was sentenced to life imprisonment for the racially motivated murder of Anthony Walker in 2005. Perhaps his biggest crime of all though is pretending to be an intellectual. You'll often find him quoting Nietzsche and George Orwell on social media, when in reality, he's a pseudo-hard man with a single-digit IQ. Now, the irony that I'm sitting here talking about Barton when all he wanted was attention isn't lost on me, nor is the fact that he's clearly on a bit of a wind-up, as showcased by him referring to himself as the king every 2 minutes, but I thought it was worth discussing nonetheless. In some ways, the guy's a marketing genius. He was sacked by Bristol Rovers a month ago, and recently started his own podcast, which, by the way, he's named the Common Sense Podcast, which appears to be the single biggest area he's lacking in, but self-awareness has never been his forte, and thus by spouting utter drivel, he knows he'll get eyeballs on him, and in turn revenue. It's not too dissimilar to the Andrew Tate model, because being a cunt is an incredibly profitable venture in contemporary society. Over the last couple of days, he's had a complete meltdown on Twitter about women in football. He stated that they shouldn't be talking with any kind of authority about the men's game, and that any fella who converses with them about the sport is a sellout. This is just my personal take, but I'm fairly certain his missus slept with another man behind his back, as that's generally the sort of thing which creates the type of resentment he holds. He then claims they shouldn't be on commentary, and refers to any guy who disagrees with him as a eunuch, a word I'm fairly certain he's only learned in the past week. Yesterday, he decided to have a pop at some girl vlogging at a Man City game. Truth be told, I'm of the opinion that using cameras at a football match is fucking moronic. I'd much rather enjoy what's happening on the pitch while adding to the atmosphere than record myself being a tit, because that's what YouTube is for. However, that's quite an old school way of thinking, and anyone who disagrees with me is well within their right to do so. After all, Gen Z is more or less grown up on TikTok, so shit like this is here to stay, whether we like it or not. And, as Laura Wood says, you can't be throwing a kid like that to the wolves. She's harmless, clearly has an audience, and has been employed as Man City's official social media manager, so who's anyone to have a go at her for trying to make a career for herself? Just like other shit-stirring celebrities looking to get something off their chests, Barton unsurprisingly ended up on Piers Morgan Uncensored, and moments after, explained why hiring women at all is asking for trouble, tagging both Laura Woods and Bianca Westwood, who rightly ignored him knowing full well that by engaging in conversation, he'd have made sure they stooped down to his miserable level. When you cut through the venom of Barton's comments, he's not wrong about quotas and box ticking. Some folk most certainly get the job ahead of more deserving candidates because of this, but that's true for every industry on planet Earth, not just football. That also happens to conveniently ignore the fact that the biggest reason for dogshit analysis is former male players who haven't got a bleeding clue about the modern day game. In fact, some of them are so bad, I genuinely wonder if they actually watch any matches, or just throw out cliches based on limited information knowing full well that their job will remain intact so as long as they don't go down the Matt Letizia road. Unfortunately, Barton's got a huge base of followers, and considering a lot of men have hated in their hearts due to personal experiences in the past, he'll likely get exactly what he wanted out of this. Do let me know where you stand down below. Feel free to call me out if you think I've gotten anything wrong, and I'll catch you in the next one, folks. Peace.